Today we'll discuss another set of important amendments to the Indian Constitution, and these are 14th, 15th, and 16th amendments to the Indian Constitution. Under this, we'll cover what was the purpose of these amendments, what key changes they brought in, and how these amendments affected governance and the nation. So let's talk about the first amendment, that is the 14th Amendment of 1962. The purpose of this amendment can be understood better if we understand the historical context in which this amendment was brought in. So after independence, there were some territories like Pondicherry, Karaikal, Mahe, and Yanam. These territories remained under French administration after India's independence. But due to several negotiations and referendum conducted in 1954, these territories joined Indian Union, and they were being administered as the Union Territory of Pondicherry, but their formal integration into Indian Union was yet to be done. For that purpose, we brought in 14th Amendment. Also, there were some Union territories which lacked self-governance. So to provide self-governance, we also did 14th Amendment. So if we talk about the purpose of 14th Amendment, so the purpose of the 14th Amendment was to integrate the French territories into Indian Union formally, and also to provide legislatures and council of ministers for union territories, enabling limited self-governance. There were some union territories which required legislatures and council of ministers, so this amendment provided that provision also. And also, now we have to ensure that these union territories have fair representation in the Lok Sabha. So this amendment also provided for the adequate representation of these union territories into Lok Sabha. So what were the key changes made through 14th Amendment? So integration of French territories like Pondicherry, Karaikal, Mahe, and Yanam. Now these territories have become a part of the Union Territory of Puducherry. This 14th Amendment has also provided self-governance for union territories by creating legislatures and council of ministers for the union territories of Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Tripura, Goa, Daman and Diu, and Puducherry. So now these union territories had their own legislatures and council of ministers. And to represent these union territories into Lok Sabha, the seats in the Lok Sabha have also been increased. So what was the impact of 14th Amendment? The 14th Amendment strengthened India's territorial integrity by formally integrating French territories into Indian Union, and it has also democratized union territories by providing them legislatures and their own council of ministers. And this amendment, 14th Amendment, has also enhanced the political representation of union territories, allowing them to influence national decision making. Now let's discuss the second amendment, that is 15th Amendment of 1963. So the purpose of this amendment can be understood better if we understand the historical context first. So the historical context for this amendment was that before this amendment, the writ jurisdiction of High Court did not apply for union territories, which means that the people living in union territories had no legal measure if their fundamental rights gets violated, because the High Court had no right to exercise its power of writ jurisdiction in a union territory. And also there were many judicial vacancies in courts, and due to which their workload was ballooning. So to address these concerns, there was a need for temporary judicial appointments and also to increase the retirement age of judges. So basically the purpose of this amendment was to extend the writ jurisdiction of high courts to union territories, to retain experienced judges by raising their retirement age, and also to address the backlog of judicial cases by providing temporary and additional appointments into the courts. So to address these concerns, 15th Amendment brought in provisions like extension of writ jurisdiction. Now high courts have the power to issue writs for the enforcement of fundamental rights in union territories. This amendment has increased the retirement age of judges. Now the retirement age of high court judges has been increased from 60 to 62 years. And this amendment has introduced provisions for the appointment of acting and additional judges to fill temporary gaps and reduce case backlogs. So what was the impact of this amendment? This amendment guaranteed legal remedies for the people of UTs. This amendment has also improved judicial efficiency by raising the retirement age of judges of High Court, and it has also helped to reduce case pendency in courts by making additional appointments. Now let's address the third and the last amendment for today, that is 16th Amendment of 1963. And the purpose of this amendment can be understood better if we understand the historical context first. So the historical context for this amendment was that in 1960s there were various secessionist movements which were happening in India. And through these movements, people were demanding separate statehood for their regions or even separate territories for themselves, which has threatened the sovereignty of India. So to protect the unity and integrity of India, it was felt that some legislative action must be taken. Basically, the purpose of this amendment was to protect India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And this 16th Amendment has also revised the oath of office, which has been taken by various constitutional officials before the assumption of their duties. And this amendment has also struck a balance between freedom of speech and national security. So what were the key changes brought in by 16th Amendment? This amendment has strengthened the oath of office. Now public officials like MPs and MLAs were required to swear allegiance to sovereignty and integrity of India in addition to upholding constitution. This means that now whenever any public official, whether it is MP or MLA, they take oath of their office, they would include words like sovereignty and integrity of India in their oath. The 16th Amendment has also placed a restriction on freedom of speech and expression. It has added restriction under Article 19, Clause 2 to prevent speech or actions that threatened India's sovereignty or territorial integrity. So nobody is allowed to speak or act in a manner which threatens our India's sovereignty or territorial integrity. This 16th Amendment has also revised electoral provisions. Now those who speak of secession or anti-national activities, they can no longer contest elections. And for this purpose, this amendment has also amended Representation of Peoples Act. So what was the impact of this amendment? So 16th Amendment has reinforced national unity by addressing the concerns with regards to territorial integrity of India. It has made public officials and representatives accountable for safeguarding India's sovereignty. And this 16th Amendment has struck a balance between individual rights with national interest. So with this, we have completed the discussion of 14th, 15th and 16th Amendments to the Indian Constitution. And I hope everything which we have discussed is clear to you.